Hi, I'm Alice. I'm here in my studio today, and I thought I'd share a little quick demo on how to make your own canvas boards. Okay, let me switch the camera here. Oh, boy, we're technical difficulties. Here we go. There we go. So you can buy these canvas boards at the art store, and a lot of people I know, a lot of my students go to the dollar store and buy them. And this one's a Winsor Newton one, which is the sister company to Liquitex, so it's a good brand. Some of the dollar store ones, you find that they're not going to be archival, and that's because of how they're made. So it's canvas, and then what they're doing is they're putting cardboard in the middle. So if the cardboard isn't pH uh, uh, balanced, or it's not acid free, you might have trouble over the time. Also, sometimes I find with the cheaper ones, what also happens is that you have canvas, and it's just not very a good quality canvas. So I thought, hey, I've got a whole bunch of this canvas laying around, and I found some mat board, and I thought this would be a great thing to show. One of the reasons you do this is that in the end, it's going to be cheaper. And another reason you might want to do this is just so that you control the whole process. Some people really like to do that. And another reason just might be that you have this sitting around, and rather than it go to the landfill, it's a good use of materials. So let's start and talk about what we're using. So the first thing is this canvas. Now, I used to work at a fabric store, so that's a great place to go. And sorry, I'm dragging my sleeves in my acrylic. That's a great place to go and find a source for canvas. This one is an even weave, and that's what you want. I don't know how well you can see that pretty well. So the weave is going evenly this way and this way. It's those people who are into weaving will know that's called a basket weave. Now there's time that I was at working at the store, and they had a whole bunch of white denim on sale, and I thought, oh, perfect, that's canvas. Well, the trouble with that, if you look at your jeans, it'll have a twill weave. And what that means is that you see a diagonal in it. And so I bought that fabric, and I used it and stretched lots of canvases, and I wouldn't recommend it. I can tell you, even after gessoing and painting it, it still had this very distinctive weave in it. And I found it distracting to the work, but use what you have. I know some people who'll even do this. They'll make boards with different fabric and then paint off of that. That works too. Now, for the cardboard, I went to my favorite supplier and asked them if they had any leftover mat board. Now, when you're looking at the mat board on the side here, you can see this is brilliant white. That's what you want to see. Because if the mat board is a cream color, what that means is that it's not acid free. And you want something that's neutral and is not going to eat away at your painting or fall apart. There's different colors. That doesn't really matter because we're covering it up. Sometimes if you go to your framer, or I got this at my favorite art supplier, and if you're really good friends with them, sometimes they'll throw it in free, or they'll sell it to you at, a nominal price. And I like that because that keeps it from going to the dump. The dump. So the other thing that I'm using today is I'm using a medium. And a medium is the way to think of mediums is it's just colorless paint. I'm giving a demo on mediums really soon. It's at the end of February for Gortzman's. And that's a wonderful paint store in Toronto on Spadina. And it's a free demo from sponsored by Liquitex. So if you want to log on to there, just go to Gortzman's and on their website, and you can see a free sign up. I'm going to use a satin gel for this. The medium, as I said, it's like colorless paint. This is the binder or the glue that's in the paint. This is what keeps the pigment in. So that's what we're going to do today. We're using it as glue. So this is a satin one. I could use a gel. I could use a liquid one. It doesn't really matter. I like the gel just because I like the body of it. And so this is really easy. What you're going to do, I'm going to use a big brush. I've got some little lumps here because this has been sitting out from what I was doing before. And you're going to cover that up. Okay. Now, I was taught when I was doing collage that the best thing is to make sure that you cover the whole surface. Okay. Have some extra on my palette knife. So let's just put that on there or use that up. And we're just going to put it in and work it into the whole surface, go right to the edge. There's some little things that I'm picking up here. I don't really want that to happen. So yeah, it happens. And I'm just going to work that in to the fabric, making sure I've got it all covered. Now, the reason that you want to cover both pieces is that you don't want any air bubbles. Air bubbles are the enemy. It's just like when you're doing collage, it's the same thing. Okay. So I've painted both of those with a big brush, and then you're just going to take your mat board and sandwich it on there and see how it goes. Now, the corners, we don't want the corners to be too bulky. And so you just cut them. Now, there's different ways of doing this. You could just cut a straight cut and miter the corners. Those people who do quilting know exactly what I mean. I'm going to make it even simpler. I'm just going to cut out a little square on the edge here. I'm going to cut that way and then cut way. I could have done that before, but I find that once it's on there, it's easier to do. It's less fussing around. Okay, so each corner, I'm just going to cut out a little corner, one more. All right. And then, whoop, I didn't cut that very straight, so let me just go one more time. All right, there we go. Let's pull that off. And what you then are going to do is just pull that to the other side. You can use a brush, you can use some of your medium. I actually should have poured out more medium. That's okay. Try not to be wasteful. And you just want to work that in. Use your fingers or a stiff brush. You could even do something like a palette knife to squish it down if you want. And what you're trying to do is just pull it as tight as you can. Now, this is a good thing to practice on smaller boards first before you hit those really big ones. Here, I've got to pull out some more medium. Oh, that's giving me grief because it's closed. There we go. So I'm just going to scoop a little bit more out there. And, I can add that on there and then just pull it over. As I said, you can use a brush to do that as well. Of course, it's not sticking down because I'm videotaping it. There it goes. And then one side, and then go to the other side. Add a little bit if it's dried, or if you haven't put enough. You want a generous amount on there so that it glues properly. Now, all fabric has a bit of sizing in it, and that's going to work to your advantage with something like this, because then what happens is that as it dries, it will tighten up a little bit. But you want to try to make it as tight as possible. Okay, so a little bit more there. And again, you can swoosh, this technical art term, swoosh it down with a palette knife. That works great. If there's any spare ends in there, just take your finger or a brush or a knife, make it down. And the same thing, you want everything glued down really nicely. That corner there needs a bit of attention. All right. And so now you have canvas on here. Now you could take this and just use it as it is, but I'd like to put a coat of gesso on it. You could use clear gesso. You could tint your gesso and add paint color to it. You can use one of the specialty gessos that Liquitex has. They have a black one and a gray one. As you look at this, you'll notice that there's a little bit of a bend in it, isn't it? That's a bit annoying. So I found out how to fix that because I was helping kids with science fair projects, and they had painted their boards and they came in just, they were freaking out because their boards were all bent out of shape. And they're like, how do we fix this? And the reason that it bends like that is because the surface tension on this side, that's the side you put the medium, which is clear paint, the side you put the paint on, there's more tension on that side and that side. So I would first of all just let it dry and see what happens. If in the end it still has that bend, just paint the other side and you'll find it straightens out. Now, usually I would stay and wait a little bit here, but today we're just going to dive right into it. I'm going to use, this is a gesso. I like using the professional gesso. I have some of the basics here that I use for other things as well. It's the same stuff is in it. Just what's happening to the basics to make it more affordable is that they're adding more of the medium in it. And so because of that, it's thinner, and I prefer a thicker one. And so I'm going to use that one. And just a big brush you want to take whenever you're gessoing something, you want to work it into the grain of the fabric or the surface. Gesso, a lot of people, a lot of my students get confused about gesso. It's just like primer, when you're painting your house and you're painting we've been doing a lot of that lately. You're using a primer as their first coat, and it puts a protective barrier, and it's one that's going to allow the paint to go on better. And so that's what gesso basically is. So what's in it is titanium white, because this one's white, so it has pigment. It has the medium in it. It has a couple of other elements in it that help it lay down flat. And, it usually has a bit of a tooth. So when it's all dry, you can feel it, and it feels, a little bit toothy, a little bit rough, and that helps take the paint. So there you go. I mean, that's pretty easy. If after you've done it, as I said on this one, well, this one's still drying, but I've got that curve. So what I might want to do afterwards is just paint on the back. Or what I like to do is I like to take some pretty papers that I have, some acid-free papers, and I cut them out and I collage those on the back just to make them look a little special. After it's dry, you might need another coat. That's okay. If that's true, then, just slap on another coat. But that's all it takes to make yourself a nice canvas. As I said, it's not something you have to do, but it will save you money. And in these days when our groceries cost so much, it's about keeping ourselves going. And I kind of like going through the whole process. So I don't do this all the time, but a lot of times it's kind of fun to start where you're starting from the raw materials to the finished product. I hope you enjoyed that, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.